Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yep. Check one, check one.
Bringing the hearing back to order. Thank you for your patience as we resolved some audio to ensure that those who are viewing at home and by live stream are able to fully see what's going on. So thank you everyone for your collective patience. Ms. Smith, we would just like you to resume from where you were just previously speaking, and thank you so much for your flexibility.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to start again on page 5, Exhibit 3. Exhibit 3 shows the change in visitors to the site by fiscal years. As I mentioned before, one of the goals of the Commission is to educate the public by increasing the number of visitors that come to the site. And total attendance to the site increased by 102% to nearly 54,000 visitors in fiscal 2022. And that's from the low seen in fiscal 2020 of nearly 27,000 visitors. I want to point out the dark blue piece of the stacked bar chart at the bottom. This shows the amount of site use through recreation. Throughout the pandemic, the site saw an increase in recreational use as folks sought outdoor activities. And the Commission indicated last year that its goal was to encourage the continued heightened use of the site for recreational purposes. Recreational use in fiscal 2022 reached a peak of 30,000 visitors, or an increase of nearly 190% compared to fiscal 2018. We're going to skip now to page 7. Page 7, Exhibit 4, shows earned special funds at the site. Commission earned revenue is driven by attendance, and in fiscal 2020 and 2021, the Commission saw a decline due to limited attendance. In fiscal 2022, the earned special revenue began to surpass the totals in each of fiscal 2020 and 2021 by approximately $1.1 million. Important here is the volunteer revenue increased by more than 180% between fiscal 2021 and 2022, but it still remains 72% lower than levels prior to the pandemic. So as the Commission moves forward out of the pandemic, we are seeing a return to pre-pandemic levels to some degree. Finally, at the end of page 7, observation 3 discusses the performance audit that was requested of the Commission in the 2022 Joint Chairman's Report. The audit should detail the financial management practices at the Commission and was to be submitted December 1st, 2022. As of the writing of the analysis, the report had not yet been submitted. DLS recommends that the Budget Committees add language restricting funds pending the submission of the report. On page 8, you will see that language detailed, and this would restrict $500,000 until the report is submitted and the budget committees have had time to review and comment. This language requires that the audit be submitted by August 1, 2023. And with that, I conclude my remarks, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Ms. Smith, for your presentation. Are there any questions from the members? And I also want to acknowledge that Vice Chair Chang has joined us for today's subcommittee. All right, thank you so much for your efforts.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your hard work. At this time, Regina Faden and your team, feel free to bring up everyone you need to. Chairs withstanding.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members. My name is Tim Healy. I took over as chairman of the commission in July of last year. A big year for St. Mary's City, as Dr. Fodden will explain later. New Dove, expanding on the fort that we found. Every week, I think we get a report of something new that the archaeologists found. So, not to take too much time, but I'll let Dr. Fodden do her thing.
Okay. All right. Thank you. My name is Regina Fodden, and I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director of Historic St. Mary's City Commission. With me, as you know, are our Chair, Tim Healy, my colleagues Joe Kangas, Director of Facilities and Grounds, and our Director of Finance, Doug Hunter. Madam Chair, members of the committee and staff, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. We are grateful for Analyst Morgan Smith's keen analysis. You have our written testimony, so I'll not review that, but we want to share a few things that are happening at Historic St. Mary's City. In 2021, the Commission approved a new master plan that lays out a vision for Historic St. Mary's City to become a premier historical site like Jamestown and Colonial Williamsburg as we prepare for the commemoration of our state's founding in 2034. We are very grateful for the support of our governor and his administration, the Maryland General Assembly, in particular our local legislators, Senator Jack Bailey and Delegate Brian Crosby, whose unflagging enthusiasm will help us all realize this vision. We are grateful for the support and hard work put forth on our behalf by the colleagues at DBM to identify opportunities to improve our visitor experience, and at DGS for their expertise and professionalism to manage multiple projects each year. To date, we have identified over 300 archaeological sites which have yielded evidence of people living along the shores of the St. Mary's River as long as 10,000 years ago. The discovery of and excavation of the 1634 fort, which our chair referenced, has revealed artifacts that tell the story of Maryland's founding. Over the coming years, our research will reveal as yet unknown stories about the interaction among people from indigenous communities, from Africa, and Europeans who came to colonize the site during the 17th century when concepts of race, freedom, and civil rights were fluid, yet to be defined by culture and law. The newly constructed tall ship, the Maryland Dove, will be sailing to ports of call around the Chesapeake Bay this year to educate and delight those who might not otherwise be able to experience boarding the ship. The construction of our new visitor center, the Maryland Heritage Interpretive Center, the single largest capital project in the history of the Commission, has broken ground, and we look forward to welcoming you to its grand opening in 2024. We appreciate our partners at St. Mary's College of Maryland for serving as managers on this very important project. These are exciting times at St. Mary's City. We thank you for your interest and support, and we concur with the recommendation and are available for questions.
Thank you so much. Vice Chair Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Congratulations on all the big plans. I actually didn't see the brochure on the DBM website. I think we'd love to see that. We're all history nerds up here. But I did have a question just specifically as the House co-chair of the Joint Audit Committee. Can you just, for the record, and I know that was a concern of the audit team and the analysts, when, this says 2 weeks, but can you give us maybe a more specific time of when we can expect to get the documents to the auditors so that we can finish things up?
So the process that we're in right now is the audit has come to the commission members a week and a half, 2 weeks ago for our comments. He incorporated some of those. As briefed Senator Bailey, and then he's going to brief the staff here next week on Thursday afternoon. And what he has assured to me is as soon as the staff has their input, then he will submit the audit. So So I wrote the 2 weeks, and I think it's probably will be, maybe not that Friday, but probably the very next week. So 2 weeks from this last Monday, I think.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hopefully we can stick to that.
Thank you for your question. Are there any other questions from the members? Seeing none, thank you so much for your time and for the
Thank
great
you.
work
Thank
you're
you.
doing in St. Mary's. We can't wait to check it out.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next item, the Maryland Department of Labor, beginning with Emily Haskell, Budget Analyst. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, my name is Emily Haskell, and I'll be presenting the budget analysis for the Maryland Department of Labor. In the budget summary on page 1, you can see that labor's budget totals about $554 million in fiscal 2024, which is a decrease of nearly 14%, mostly due to the end of COVID-19 relief funding and other federal grants. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip ahead a bit and move on to page 10 to talk about the electronic licensing modernization IT project. This is the second attempt to modernize the system after the first project began in fiscal 2019 but stalled, with the vendor eventually declaring bankruptcy last year. The fiscal 2024 allowance includes $2.8 million in special funds for the project. And in addition, $2 million is expected to be provided in fiscal 2023 from funding remaining from the prior attempt. Funding for the project comes from revenues and fund balance from various occupational licensing boards and commissions. And cost estimates for the project range from $6 million to over $9 million. And the department has identified sufficient funding as a potential risk for completing the project. So DLS has asked the department to comment on the anticipated overall cost of the project, as well as how the project will be completed if licensing board revenues and fund balances are insufficient to cover the costs. In addition, given the lack of planning currently completed for the project, DLS is recommending that the project funding be restricted until the department provides a report documenting the requirements, vendor selection process, costs, and implementation timeline. The first issue in the analysis relates to unemployment insurance, beginning on page 13. As you're all aware, the COVID-19 pandemic led to historic UI claims volume, as well as several new federal programs and expanded eligibility and the provision of supplemental benefits. Exhibit 5 shows the continued claims volume for all programs over the last few years, with the regular UI claims represented by the darker bars. You can see regular claims have returned to a level consistent with prior to the pandemic. However, you can see in Exhibit 6 on page 14 that despite the claims volume going back down, the department is still struggling to get back to meeting the established timeliness standard of paying 87% of all initial claims within 3 weeks, achieving less than 60% in each of the last few months. The department also tracks internally the percent of claims for which a determination has been made within the last 3 weeks, or within 3 weeks, with a goal of 92%. But the department has also not met this goal since October 2022. As you can see in Exhibit 7 on page 15, the timeline for processing UI appeals cases has also lagged behind established targets in fiscal 2022. The next exhibit, Exhibit 8 on page 16, shows UI-related contract costs since fiscal 2021. The department spent more than $250 million across fiscal 2021 and 2022 on contracts for call center staffing, adjudicating claims, and dealing with increased fraud. The working appropriation and allowance have not accurately reflected the cost for the UI program in recent years, although contract costs are generally expected to decrease along with claims volume. Exhibit 9 on page 17 shows the staff resources provided under these contracts to provide adjudication services and staff the call center, which have decreased significantly in the last year. Total vendor staff peaked at more than 2,200 in January 2022, whereas by December, the department was using just over 300 vendor staff in the call center. This is in addition to about 320 filled regular positions, which represents a vacancy rate of 14%, as well as about 100 contractual full-time equivalent positions. The call center contract is in place through December 2023, and the department is working on a new procurement for ongoing call center support to provide flexibility as needed to staff up. Funding for administering the UI program is typically provided by the U.S. Department of Labor. However, the funding has been insufficient to cover the costs in recent years, with the department using $15 million in general funds in fiscal 2022 to make up the difference, as well as about $24 million in American Rescue Plan funds provided so far in fiscal 2023. DBM has set aside an additional $26 million in American Rescue Plan funds that have not yet been added to the budget, but are available if needed. And Labor estimates that an additional $16 million will be needed in fiscal 2023. DLS has asked the department to comment on the anticipated need for continued state support for the UI program in the current and upcoming years. The last point I want to make on UI, you'll note that 2 audits were released related to the program within the last year that included findings related to the lack of procedures surrounding the identification of fraudulent or duplicate payments and the lack of adequate review and oversight. Due to the number of repeat audit findings, DLS recommends standard language restricting funding until the Office of Legislative Audits submits a report on corrective actions taken by the department. The second issue in the analysis discusses expanded funding for apprenticeships. The fiscal 2023 budget included $25 million in general funds in the dedicated purpose account to be expended over multiple years to support the expansion of apprenticeship programs. In December, a budget amendment was processed to transfer the first $5 million from the account to the department. And Exhibit 10 on page 20 shows the department's proposal to make use of this initial funding for initiatives to support a growing pool of employers sponsoring apprenticeships, to increase occupational and demographic diversity among apprentices, and improve engagement with educational institutions. Legislation introduced in the 2023 session, Senate Bills 104 and 413, would establish an Apprenticeship 2030 Commission to study and make recommendations on the expansion of apprenticeship programs. And if enacted, the recommendations of this commission could also guide the use of this funding. The third issue in the analysis relates to COVID-19 relief funding for workforce development. As you can see in Exhibit 12 on page 24, the state has allocated significant additional federal funds from the American Rescue Plan, totaling $82 million since fiscal 2021, which is on top of the regular federal funding from the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. Most of this funding is distributed to local workforce areas to provide career services, training, and other supportive services for job seekers. The American Rescue Plan funding is generally more flexible than the regular Workforce Opportunity Act funding, and each local area submits quarterly program and fiscal reports to the department on how the American Rescue Plan funding is being used. Local areas report directing funds to serve populations disproportionately impacted by the pandemic, to support pandemic-impacted small businesses through wage subsidies, and to provide training in impacted or high-growth sectors such as healthcare, biotechnology, and IT. Exhibit 13 on page 26 shows the progress by each local area in expending funding from the fiscal 2022 funding round of $37.5 million. Obligation rates for this funding range from 0% in Baltimore County, although the county has expended nearly all of its fiscal 2021 award, to 94% in Baltimore City. Low obligation rates are not necessarily a concern, as local areas may choose to spend time setting up new programs to take advantage of the flexible one-time funding. The final issue in the analysis is on the Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program, known simply as FAMLY. Chapter 48 of 2022 established the FAMLY program to provide up to 12 weeks of benefits to covered individuals. Generally, employers with 15 or more employees must contribute to and participate in the program. And under current law, contributions are set to begin this coming October, and claims for benefits begin in January 2025. Exhibit 14 on page 28 shows cost estimates produced by various consultants engaged by the department, as well as estimates of claims volume. Estimated total program expenditures, including both administrative costs and benefits payments, range from $1.5 billion to $2.1 billion annually over the first few years of program implementation. Startup costs for the department are estimated at $60 million across calendar 2023 and 2024. However, the fiscal 2023 budget includes only $10 million, and no funding is provided in the fiscal 2024 allowance. DLS has engaged a contractor to study various administrative models that could be adopted and the costs associated with each, and the study is expected to be published soon. Potential models include the department administering the family program directly, contracting with a third party to manage the program, or a blended approach. Generally, it is anticipated that benefits of outsourced program management would include lower startup costs and a shorter implementation timeline, while drawbacks would include a loss of control in the development of program procedures and protocols. In addition to administrative expenses, the state will also incur costs under the family program related to employer contributions for state employees, as well as employer contributions on behalf of community providers and employee contributions for employees making less than $15 per hour. Exhibit 15 on page 30 shows estimates for these costs in fiscal 2025 for a range of employer and employee cost sharing percentages. As you can see, contributions paid by the state could range from $53 million to over $120 million, depending on the cost share. Finally, pages 31 to 32 show the DLS recommended language related to the unemployment insurance audit and the restriction of funding for the electronic licensing modernization project. And that's all I have today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Haskell, for that presentation and overview. Are there any questions from the members? Vice Chair Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Emily, thank you for the really thorough report, as always. I just had a question on the Jobs That Build incentive program. The chart on page 6 and page 5 talks about it. I know that was one of Governor Hogan's sort of last big initiatives in 2022. Do you have any data on whether that's actually been effective at all?
Well, I will note that most of the funding was just, a lot of it has been given out just in the past few months, so maybe the department has more to say, but there hasn't been that much time, I would say, to evaluate the impact.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Now we're excited to welcome Secretary Wu, Department of Labor, as well as her teammates. Or not.
Good afternoon, Chair Smith, Vice Chair Solomon, and Committee Vice Chair Chang, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to respond to the Department of Legislative Services fiscal year 24 budget analysis. I want to thank Ms. Haskell for her thorough analysis and views. I'm joined today by Lakivu Speaks, who's the Acting Assistant Secretary for Unemployment Insurance at the table. Also available to address any questions behind me is my senior leadership team, Liz Williams, Assistant Secretary Ripkowski, Commissioners Helminiak, Morgan, Hopkins, and Salazar, and our budget team, Sherry Baines and Kim Grandy. So they're signed up, and they're available to answer questions, but we're not bringing everyone to the table. So I would like to take just 2 minutes, since it's my first chance appearing before the committee, to talk about my priorities and what I see going forward. I really see the Department of Labor's broad mandate as central to Governor Moore's commitment to leave no one behind. Among my key priorities include opening doors to opportunity through workforce, career and technical education, apprenticeship, and occupational and professional licensing. These opportunities are particularly important for underserved communities, rural communities, and returning citizens. Ensuring clear standards and robust enforcement through the Division of Labor and Industry. Administering programs that support workers and their families and keep them attached to the workforce, unemployment insurance, and soon paid family and medical leave. And all of this relies upon rebuilding our agency's workforce and ensuring we have sufficient resources to execute and accomplish the department's mission. I'm committed to executing that mission in a more transparent and responsive way for all stakeholders. While the DLS analysis pointed to areas for improvement, I'm grateful it also highlights some of our key initiatives. One of them is the Jobs That Build initiative. I know, Vice Chair, you had a question about that. We have obligated all the money, the $15 million. It went to 62 businesses across the state in all 24 jurisdictions, supporting 2,600 infrastructure workers and hundreds of infrastructure projects. We don't yet have outcomes for those individuals because, the money has really just gone out. But we can provide further information to your team about sort of the breakdown of what people use the funds for, and are happy to answer questions here. We're also implementing the $23 million Good Jobs Challenge grant from the federal government to support offshore wind, with a goal of training over 4,000 individuals. And finally, at the end of 2022, Maryland reached an historic milestone of over 12,000 registered apprentices. I want to thank the General Assembly for targeted, flexible resources to enable the expansive approach to workforce that has been really helpful to us. Division of Labor and Industry enforces many of the new labor laws that have been passed in the last few sessions, including paid sick and safe days, minimum wage, and occupational and safety and health standards. We know we still have work to do to fill vacancies and address capacity. We've significantly increased our bilingual capacity on the wage and hour side and look to making similar changes and strides with occupational safety and health. Occupational and professional licensing includes 21 appointed boards and commissions that license, regulate, and monitor over 270,000 licensees across 26 different professions and trades. The division is working to balance high standards for licensure and eliminating barriers to entry in specific professions and occupations, especially for immigrants and minorities. And finally, the Office of Financial Regulation is continuing its efforts to modernize practices to better protect consumers, increase access to our financial system, and promote compliance in an evolving financial services industry. I want to briefly touch on a couple of issues raised by DLS. You have our written comments and responses in front of you, but in brief, on the electronic licensing modernization piece, that's a very important initiative. It really makes a lot of sense to make things easier for entrepreneurs and ongoing professionals. We recognize that we need a detailed plan to make sure the process is efficient and cost effective, and we will come back with that plan, and we have a process in place to do that. On unemployment insurance, I want to spend a moment on this because I know this is something that everyone has thought a lot about and heard a lot about. First, I want to assure the committee that this is, it's really among my top priorities to address the issues in the system. We have been working closely with the Office of Legislative Audits to resolve the audit findings, and we're close to achieving that. But frankly, the program overall still faces very serious challenges that are going to require ongoing investment and improvements to resolve. While the department was able to address many of the most urgent needs at the height of the pandemic, there are still areas of significant bottlenecks and, in some cases, backlogs. That includes cases where claimants have been flagged for identification discrepancies and possible fraud, as well as delays in recovering contributions from employers who should have been making contributions but did not. There are also nearly 10,000 cases pending appeal. Addressing the deficiencies in our current systems, as well as reducing complexity and making sure the system is both more user-friendly and solvent, and ensuring individual valid claimants are not continually delayed and denied because of security screens, are all top priorities for us. This will require dedicated leadership and resources. Unfortunately, as was noted in the analysis, we are seeing a sharp decline in federal administrative funding. The fiscal 2023 working appropriation includes $23.9 million in federal ARPA state recovery funds to help cover some of that funding shortfall. MDL estimates that an additional $16 million will be needed to cover the federal fiscal 2023 shortfall. I'm sorry, this is not quite right. That's the federal shortfall, but then we'll need a further, DBM has set aside a further $26 million in case it is needed, although that funding has not yet been added to the department's budget. So I'm sorry, Lakeeb, I want to be clear on that. That's an additional 43 in state fiscal 2024. Is that correct? Roughly 43? 42. 42, yes. On paid family and medical leave, I think, you know, the DLS has highlighted the need. We were grateful for the funds the governor has already released. Obviously, undertaking an ambitious program like that will require additional PINs as well as additional funding, but we look forward to working with the legislature on the timeline and funding for that. That concludes my testimony. I appreciate it and the support for our department. Happy to answer any questions.
Secretary Booth, great to have you here. I think I speak not only for myself, but several of us who know that this agency needs, you know, all the support and leadership and vision you're bringing to the role. And I look forward to working with you and your team as we ensure that our constituents, should they need, you know, unemployment, you know, benefits and so forth, that they're able to secure them in a timely fashion. So just thank you for being here and all that you're doing. And I want to give Vice Chair Solomon an opportunity to ask some questions.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Well, first of all, I wanted to formally recognize you as a District 18 constituent. It's an honor to have you in your new role, have you here, and to get to represent you. So I work for you and vice versa. I just really wanted to ask, before I get into the quick question, I think we're all very excited by the vision you're bringing. I know particularly on the apprenticeship piece, I started my career as a high school teacher, so that is sort of a core issue that is really critically important to me, and I know that the chair and I spent a lot of time, particularly this past interim, working on some apprenticeship ideas and meeting with a lot of our friends in labor, and really thinking how we can expand the apprenticeship world beyond just sort of what we think of as traditionally. So I think you've got two really ready and willing partners to roll up our sleeves with you on that, and really excited to dive in. The question I had for you is just sort of curious, in your short time in the role so far, one of the complaints that I hear a lot, especially from our union friends, is just the lack of enforcement staff that the department has, whether it's on prevailing wage, whether it's on the health and safety pieces that were listed in the analysis, and obviously we see that sort of reflected across the entire state government. I'm just curious if you've had any chance to think, even initially, what we can do to improve that, how again we can help you with that, and what we can do to fix it.
Thank you for that question. First of all, I do think more staff and more resources to that enforcement would certainly help. We do have, so let me take occupational safety and health and then wage and hour. On the occupational safety and health side, I want to say we have about 20 vacancies right now. We are aggressively moving to fill them, but that has been a problem for sure on that side. And one thing that I know Commissioner Helminiak has focused on is trying to get more bilingual staff on board, because that's been important. Like I mentioned, we've made great strides with wage and hour there, but it's a smaller team on that side as well. So if there are concerns about that broader enforcement, I think we need to, and we'd be happy to discuss what resources might be needed there. I think we can also look at other approaches, coordination with the tax bureaus, other places where we can figure out if there's appropriate information sharing to be done to make sure that we're identifying cases where there may be problems. That's absolutely a key part of our work, is especially, our recoveries are they're lower dollar amounts because it's a lot of lower wage workers, and those people can't afford their own attorneys, and that's the work of the department to get those wage recoveries for them.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, and thank you to the team.
Thank you.
And that concludes today's budget hearings. Sorry. Good afternoon. We're bringing the voting session for Education and Economic Development to order. We have two bills that I believe we'll be considering today, and we'll have a presentation by staff counsel.
The first bill is House Bill 50, Delegate Lopez's bill, the action to collect a private education loan required documents. The bill prohibits a private education lender or a private education loan collector from initiating private education loan collection unless the lender or collector possesses and introduces into evidence specific documents related to the loan. This bill is in the same posture as last year's bill, which passed the committee 20-0. There are no amendments.
Any questions or of clarity? Is there a motion to take a vote?
Motion to vote?
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Roll call.
Vice Chair Solomon.
Yes.
Delegate Forbes.
Excused.
Delegate Greist. Delegate Harris.
Yes.
Delegate Mangione.
Excused.
Vice Chair Chang. Chair Smith.
Yes. The bill passes.
The bill passes.
Thank you, thank you.
Great. The second bill is House Bill 366, Delegate Smith's bill, Maryland School for the Blind, Public School Construction Program Eligibility. The bill maintains the Maryland School for the Blind's eligibility for funding under the Public School Construction Program. It's currently set to sunset in FY28, and this would permanently remove the sunset. There are no amendments.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Any questions? All right, roll call.
Vice Chair Solomon. Yes. Delegate Forbes.
Excuse.
Delegate Grist. Delegate Harris.
Yes.
Delegate Mangione.
Excuse.
Vice Chair Chang.
Yes.
Chair Smith.
Yes.
Bill passes 7-0.
And that concludes today's voting session for EED. Thank you.